what generational wealth is all about, what wealth is all about, what holding on to money and investing is all about. And if they do so, by the time they enter into the real world, the adult world, they will be better at managing their money, watching how they spend their money. Too often, our young people simply cannot come up with a down payment for a house or a down payment for a car because they never learned how to save. They never learned the old Ben Franklin way of pennies make dollars. So I wanted to let your audience know that we commend Mr. Steen for taking his time to work with the children, the young people at their age, and to help them to understand just how far a dollar can actually go if you know what to do with it and how to do what's necessary with it. Back to you, Mike.
Well, thanks, Phil, as always. And Phil brings up and Phil, take care of yourself also, because we know the cases are rising back there on the East Coast as they are all over the place. So please take care, sir. And thanks for calling.
Well, I'm going to take good care. I've been in the house for 6 or 7 months. I've grown an afro again, and I'm going to keep on letting it go. I'll grow. I'm not coming outside until COVID is gone away.
All right, sir. Very good. Very good. And
I'll take care, too.
You too, sir.
Thanks.
And you know, Phil brings up a great point, Thinbad and Shannon and Bill, you know, starting that mindset of generational wealth at such a young age. I think that's something to be commended, Bill. And you know, we were, and I have to admit, I was at the front of the line. We're kind of thinking about what can the adults do to build generational wealth. And I'm so glad that Phil called in and sort of reminded us about the things that you were doing with the young people to start them with the generational wealth. So can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the example that I shared about my godson. And, Mike, a couple of shows ago when you had the group of 5 on, and we talked about how long the dollar stays in the Black community, 6 hours, the Black dollar stays in the Black community 6 hours. And that's the mindset of, I got to spend it. I got to get it out of my hand as soon as it gets in my hand. I've been, and I don't know, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't know the mindset of people, but it just appears that the fact of always being told no or having things just outside of the grasp, that the patience is not there. And so my desire and my drive has always been about investing in that upcoming generation.
Sure.
Because as we saw, even, let's even talk about the elections, not this past election, but with President Obama. It was that young generation that encouraged their parents to vote for President Obama. Sure. And because they got so involved in their parents were so intrigued about how much they were involved in the political process.
Sure.
They supported their children.
Sure.
And so that there is power in the influence of that up and coming generation.
Sure.
When it makes sense.
Sure.
You gotta try it, and it's gotta make sense, because sometimes kids will say things out of their mouth and you're like, what in the
That's right.
You're right. But that's why, it's been a desire of me to plant the seed,
right,
into my preaching mode, to plant the seed with that with that up and coming generation in the season that they are in. Because if they understand it in the real estate investment world, in the seminars and the training, the thing that they continue to tell us is, when you look at a real estate project, always imagine what your end goal or end game is going to be, and then work from the end backwards. And so take that into your goals. If you have a child and you encourage a child to look at the end goal of being a physician, a scientist, a teacher, and that's what the information that you share with them, you won't have to worry about that child skipping school in the 9th grade, because they've already had the mindset of reaching that end goal. when I used to mentor kids back in the county when I worked with them,
sure.
I would take juniors and seniors on college tours, and other communities would have 8th graders and 9th graders there.
Right.
So that those children already knew what school they were going to go to.
That's right.
Before they walked in the doors of the high school.
Sure.
So we didn't have to chase them, away from the 7-Eleven or the Wendy's because they took a lunch and decided not to go back to school, because they knew what they needed to do to get to that goal. And it's the same thing about generational wealth.
Sure.
It's the same thing about planting that seed and then looking at the end goal and working towards that goal as you move forward.
Well, I got to tell you, Brother Steen, already your program is paying some dividends. We just got a message here from Laurie Edwards Darrisaw, who also happens to be my wife Sands. And of course, I got to shout out the lovely ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I think Shannon knows a little bit about that. But,
yeah, just a little.
DST.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, boy, here we go.
Don't start, Mike.
Oh, boy, hush your face now. So, that's right. But what's so interesting about Laurie's comments is that she had a young lady who was a single parent in her church, and she is sending your information to that person in her church in the Richmond, Virginia area, particularly, the things you were talking about, with the rent to own option and so forth. She thought that person may be a good candidate for that particular option. So again, the message is getting out, and I'm sure many people weren't aware that's even an option that's on the table. And then of course, I was also reminded by my oldest, Ashley, it was, Bill Steen that got her buying stock at a young age in, at the Gap. So again, that's certainly one of those, things that people need to make their children aware of. I know my youngest daughter, Amber, Ambeezy, she's buying stock and so forth, following her sister's footsteps. So even if that behavior is modeled by, I saw my sister do it, so now I'm going to do it, or I have a church member that's recommending me to this rent to own option. Now I own a home, so I'm going to tell somebody else. Now we're starting to get the word out and helping the community to get that generational wealth piece going on. So I just think, again, I'm just so happy that we can get this information out. And even with your disclaimers and all the legalese, it's good that people at least know there is another option outside of the traditional mechanisms to purchase a home and begin that whole process of generational wealth building.
Absolutely. And Mike, let me just kind of tag in as why it's important to have real estate. And, again, as real estate investors, when we go through our seminars and we go through our training sessions and our different conferences, they tell us to, identify something that you want in life, whether it's a new car, whether it's a vacation, whether it's another house. And then they say, once you find that item, then find a way to pay for it.
Sure.
And that is a reverse mindset of what I've heard in my community coming up.
Mm-hmm.
In my community coming up, it was get that thing that you want and then try to find a way to pay it all once you have it. And so when I really sat back, and they gave an example of a gentleman that was in college who took his student loan money and made an investment into a laundromat. Mm-hmm. And instead of taking the money and paying for school, he let the laundromat income pay for his classes. Mm-hmm. And then when he graduated, when he became a senior and was graduating, he sold the laundromat and then paid everything that he had acquired off. And again, that's an entirely different mindset than we have. So let me bring it back to why it's important to own real estate.
Sure.
The society would have us believe that real estate is an asset. Well, in a sense, it's a liability because you are putting money out every month unless it is paid for. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is the asset of the real estate is the equity that you have in the property.
Sure.
If you have the equity in the property and you use the equity wisely, then that's how you start building that generational wealth with stock investments, with, investments in rental income or rental properties, with investments, not liabilities. Don't refi your house and take the money out and go buy a Corvette. Stick with this Corvette.
Right.
Who would do that? Take the money out, depending on if you can, take the money out and take that money and make sure you invest it in something that's going to give you a return that can not only pay the refi back, but can add an additional income by the interest. So let's say that let's talk about the stock market. So you have $50,000, maybe $60,000 equity in your home. You do a refinance. You take the $60,000 out. You learn. You invest into the stock market. They have what they call options, which is almost a rent-to-own program in the stock market, where you rent the stocks that you own to a potential investor. You can earn money on the stocks that you own. If you sell the stocks, then you have that income, plus you have the rental income.
Sure.
If you don't sell the stocks, then you have the rental income, and you still maintain the stock.
Sure.
So again, that's using money that you didn't necessarily have in your pocket, but you had access to.
Sure.
And you build upon that and create your wealth.
Sure.
You can't do that in an apartment. You can't do that in a house that you don't own.
That's correct.
You can't make those moves unless you have the concrete title of the property, the ownership of the property.
Mm. I agree. My son, he's 9. We have stock together. Well, I have stock, and he watches it for me. Like, he was like, Mom, can I see your phone? He's like really into it. He already knows what college he wants to go to.
Wow.
He's like, he's on top of it.
Awesome.
I have a lot of people saying that this was great information. Wendell, your cousin Kelly, she was saying that this is really good. She's glad we did this tonight. Simi is saying great information. She's glad we've put it out here for them. They're laughing at the fish heads.
Everybody remember the
fish heads get your tail whipped. You remember fish heads? They cost $1.99. Fish heads. You're on the welfare line. Fish heads. Oh, those fish heads.
Not the song.
If you didn't buy it,
wait a minute. What are you saying, Shannon?
It was at the end cap.
What are you saying, Shannon?
Near the cantaloupes.
Shannon,
I missed that show.
Shannon, are you talking about my singing, Shannon?
Of course not. You sound great,
she
Mike.
got her own music, so
That's right. Okay, I thought she was talking about me. I was getting ready to say.
Oh hell no!
He's been loading up. He's been ready.
He's ready. He's messing with me. Selfish.
Brother Steve, you make me want to go. I gotta go look. I mean, I just, like you say, it's never too late, I guess. But sometimes it's close enough. I better do something though. I got these 2 girls. I better put something in order.
Well, they say the best time to start is today.
Yeah.
The best time to start anything is today. With the journey to 1,000 miles starts with 1 step.
Oh, go ahead, Reverend.
Listen at Brother Steen. Listen at him preaching.
Oh, yeah, he's got it.
If we don't teach them, they got to learn. They can, when they get older, they go to college, they get these credit cards, they could, end up in a bad situation. I know when my daughter left, she already had like a 700 when she first went to college, because I added her to a lot of my credit cards just so she can start building, which she didn't know, because she probably been like, where my credit card at? But no, she didn't know.
She was You're holding out, Mom. You're holding out.
Yeah, not the secret, secret enhancement.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
But no, we got to start our kids early,
Exactly.
I think the African American population is always behind. We got to step it up and,
absolutely
be forefront with our children so they can be on top of the game when they get older.
Absolutely.
And the frustrating thing is that we know this. I mean, when we talk about, Black Wall Street, and when we talk about Atlanta, we know this. We thrived when we were supporting one another economically and enriching each other and spending our money with each other. That's how we gained success. When we didn't rely on others to loan us money, we went to our own, and and somehow or another, the job was done to derail that thought process and separate us from relying on one another, and it's been a perfect model ever since. But we got to get back to supporting each other, looking at what's